Some leaders leave footprints, others leave libraries. You're tuning into the Authors on Mission podcast, where industry giants become literacy legends. In every episode, we talk with authors who turn their brilliance into books that transform lives. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, your host and Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission. Welcome to your authorship experience. Welcome, everybody. Now, imagine if I told you that the strategic planning session you spent 3 hours on last week could have been completed in just 10 minutes. Sound possible? Well, today's guest would say you're not just thinking with an AI-first mentality yet. I'm Danielle Hutchinson, Chief Creative Officer at Authors on Mission, where we don't just interview successful authors, we dive deep into the minds of visionaries who are reshaping entire industries. Today, we're exploring the intersection of artificial intelligence and marketing with somebody who's been in the digital marketing trenches for over 30 years and has written the playbook for thriving in the age of AI. Emanuel Rose isn't another marketing expert who jumped on the AI bandwagon. He's the founder of Strategic E-Marketing, host of Marketing in the Age of AI podcast, and the author of course, the book, The AI Advantage, Unlocking AI's Full Potential. So we're going to chat all about his tactics, his writing process, his book, and everything in between on today's episode. Emanuel, welcome to Authors on Mission podcast.
Thanks so much, Danielle. I'm really happy to be here.
Of course, same. I love this topic. AI is reshaping every industry. As somebody, for myself, I work in the education field and also the writing industry, and it's just been transforming both of those tremendously in the last couple of years. And I can only imagine the scope it's been throughout everywhere else, not to mention marketing. So it's going to be a good conversation. So yeah, I'm wondering if you'd like to get started just chatting a little bit about what drew you to this field, exactly how AI has changed since you began working with it in 2022.
Yeah, well, I always was involved in the sales and marketing of all the projects I was part of. So it just was a normal progression for me. In about 2010, I got fired from my last job, and after a couple bad experiences being an employee, and I was like, well, I guess I just have to work for myself because I'm unmanageable. So that was when I started the agency, and that's been 17 years ago almost now. It's been a wild ride. In those days, we were just really wrapping our arms around social media, and that was the big push that was happening, and even just still getting people on websites and things like that. Of course, now we're talking about agents and automatic software and all kinds of things that are super sophisticated software development in a lot of ways. But in 2022, I researched and finished my book called Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI. And since then, the AI books that I've written have all been more pamphlets because of how dynamic and how fast everything changes. And I know that as soon as I get something completed and uploaded to Amazon, it's out of date.
Right, definitely. So you have to always stay up to date with things. And do you find AI as a tool for doing that?
I do use it mostly for the promotion. So I've got custom GPTs that I built that have all my books and blogs in it, and I use that for LinkedIn posts and those sorts of things, summaries. That's the way that I use it in terms of the writing process.
I love that you said that because, when I first started using AI, I noticed that it doesn't quite draw from the most current resources. In the very beginning, it wasn't using the internet at all. Now it's made updates, which is crazy to think about in the last couple of years, where it can search the internet a little bit. But I love that strategy. You're training the model using your own work. And from there, it's able to, I'm guessing, draw upon not only previous content, but also your tone and your writing style in general. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And, with a very specific prompt of saying, only using the materials in this GPT, please develop, 5 LinkedIn posts about authentic marketing and AI. And then it'll take, content that I've created, it'll generate some new takes on it, but it will be all in my voice and based on writings that I've already completed.
That's really incredible. I always love to hear these tips and techniques, especially for the authors out there. because we chat all the time about different writing strategies and tones, and this is a way to generate ideas. For writing, though, I would make the argument we probably don't want to use the system completely. I'm sure that your system, however structured the instructions might be, it probably repeats content so often. Maybe it's just being a little bit repetitive or nonsensical. Have you ever experienced any problems with that strategy?
Oh, absolutely. That's why human in the loop is the critical part. So, I say AI first, human in the loop, and make sure that,
Yes.
just like anything, you've got to be able to edit it and make sure that it's on track and on tone.
Yeah, definitely. And, a little bit off topic here, but I've seen that as a rising trend as well. Sort of the humanization aspect. I mean, just as an editor myself, so many people have been sending me manuscripts generated by AI and then needing somebody to add in that extra touch. Just a little fun snippet there. But for your book, I'm assuming you were the humanizer in that situation. Was that right?
Yeah, so this was an interesting process in that I built a presentation for an association that I went and did a talk at. I did the PowerPoint, and then I took the PowerPoint and I put that into the custom GPT, and then I generated a draft based on that, based on the presentation and the video of me doing the presentation, and then built the draft of the book on those two pieces of content that I created.
Understood. So that was just the draft of the book then. So I'm assuming after that you took it to, was it an editor perhaps, to fine tune it to the next version?
Yeah, I ran through it, and then I sent it to my editor, and then we put it into production. Yep.
Got it. And that's always another topic I love to chat a little bit about before we dive into the meat. What was the editing process like for you? I'm sure that was a unique one, being that you use AI as a tool when writing it.
Yeah, I think AI in that kind of bubble where it's all my content, it comes out like about 80 to 90% good. And then I add things that maybe have even changed since I gave that presentation, like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
2 weeks is an infinite amount of time in this space currently. And then the editor goes through it and, they mark it up, and I just accept all those changes because I'm not an English major. And so I'm happy to have that help.
That's funny. People always say, I'm not a writer, or I'm not an English major. But, so many tools are out there these days to help improve, AI being one of them. I'm sure you saw yourself improving with your writing skills as you went about the process of writing this book, at least a little bit.
Well, I love Grammarly, and I know there's lots of tools like that, but I really do appreciate the recommendations it makes, and I don't accept all of it. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to me, the recommendations, but by and large, the sticky wickets of grammars with colons and semicolons and all those things, it gets that correct, and then helps with whatever spelling that I need help with as well.
Definitely. Yeah, and it's a good way to put a structure down on it, give you those recommendations. Then drawing back to the human element, it is important to, have a scan of it before just going ahead and clicking every recommendation that Grammarly says. I made the same mistake where it'll want to change a word and it just does not make sense as another word. Perhaps that's a topic we can chat a little bit about, the idea of keeping the human in the loop. How do you balance AI efficiency with the human oversight?
It's just a critical step. I mean, it cannot be, it can't overstress the need that if your name is on it, you have to have gone through it and make sure that it is representing what you want to say, what your stake is in the ground. To just publish content that's been generated by an LLM is very bland, it's very general, and it doesn't help with the branding. And for all of us who are not Fortune 500 companies, our name and our take on what's going on in our industry and in the world is what our brand is. And so it's the most critical part, is to go through it and make sure that it has your personality, your voice, and your experience in whatever you're going to publish.
Right. And that's the most important thing, is making sure it does sound like you and not like a robot, or likewise not like everybody else, which is what, I think AI tends to do, being that it does draw from what other people feed into it as well. So very, very good points there. So you're chatting a little bit more about your book and the writing process. I was going through it, and You have one quote in there from Dilip Dudley, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Successful companies need CEOs to be an AI believer. I think that's very interesting because a lot of people seem to be hesitant to, adopt AI, even though it's been expanding so much. So I'm wondering why this top-down commitment is so crucial. What's your take on that?
Well, it's just a change leadership model, right? The CEO, even if they don't understand it, maybe they're not the ones gonna be using it. They have to say, "Oh my gosh, here's a tool that can save my people time, sometimes 10 to 20 hours a week when deployed correctly, and reallocate that time for activities that only humans can do, which is being creative and generating new ideas, spending more time with clients and prospects, and spending more time with the people on their team, building relationships." So the deployments that we're seeing a massive shift in EBITDA, sometimes doubling EBITDA in 12 to 18 months. So it's a profitability driver, as well as allowing your people to get more done with less of the robotic tasks that
Right.
humans really shouldn't be doing.
Definitely. And, it clears up your day. I mean, just the, opening line of this podcast that I said, why spend a ton of time on something when AI can do it in a snap, right? So
Yep,
about efficiency and seeing where a company can go once you remove all the busy work.
for sure.
So you actually do provide also 6 key questions for identifying AI opportunities. What are these questions? Let's know
Uh,
those.
well, the first one is, what are we not good at?
Mhm.
Where are we dropping the ball? And sometimes I use the example of we have a voice product that does accounts receivable phone calls. So for people who owe you money, this voice AI will make the phone call and then text a link so that they can receive payment. In almost every organization, nobody likes to make those phone calls. The AI
Right.
doesn't care. It's just going through the process. So,
Give it
so
the
yeah,
job you don't want, give it the bad jobs.
exactly. So, what are we not good at? What do we not like doing? Where are we short staffed for things? And what are some really just time consuming and repetitive tasks that if we got rid of, we could free somebody up to do something more important? One of our clients, they are doing swim lessons, and there's a constant shifting of calendars and scheduling. And so the person who's the swim lesson lead is spending all of her time as the booking agent, when instead you can just phone call, text the Calendly links, and people can find their own times that way. So that's a real world example. Also, we're in the customer service cycle. Can we update things? So, the chat bot, now we have the ability to not just have a typing chat bot, but you can also have a voice chat bot on your website. And you could also have an option for people to call you from your website and talk over the internet that way. So, these changes are dramatic, and it helps people get what they need immediately rather than having to wait and do it again later.
Right,
And then
right.
and then the last is just data and reporting. And a lot of us spend time every month or every week or every day generating reports in order for to make decisions for us and for people we report to. And that's a great spot where we can create automations to get that data and then still have the information we need, but it's not humans pulling it together.
Right, right. So it's a team effort. I can see how these questions are very hands-on and gives the reader something actionable to do and ask themselves. The whole book is really hands-on actually. So I'm wondering, was that your intention or did it evolve that way? Some people really do choose to make it interactive for reader engagement. Was that your goal?
Yeah, so this particular book, I really wanted to give the high level overview for people who are AI curious, and to say, hey, here's this thing. We hear a lot of buzz about it, and here's how to make it really approachable and it is very approachable. There's many AI tools that are what I call retail ready. You don't have to have any coding. You don't have to know anything other than to go sign up for Otter.ai and then attach it to your Zoom, and then you magically have summaries of every Zoom call you've ever made. That was my goal, was to make it approachable and actionable from the first reading of it.
Right, yeah, and it makes sense that you would have to, because that being that if AI is evolving so quickly and people are picking up on it like a snap these days, you want to get the readers out there and get them practicing it right away. So I get why you did that. So I'm wondering, you have this book out. What's next for you? I know you have your podcast, you have a bunch of other things on the list, but what can the audience be excited for what's coming next?
Well, I get a project where I'm redoing my prompt writing book to include deep research prompt writing, because it's a little bit different. So tools like ChatGPT's got deep research, Notebook LLM from Google, deep research tool. The way that we interact with those LLMs are different. And then the other thing is a software project, actually using AI, where we take your workflow that you're doing manually and you type in each activity you're doing in an approximate amount of time, and then it creates a visual for you so you can see each step. And then you pass that off to your IT department or somebody like my company, and then we build automations for you based on that manual process.
That's so cool, and it's great that it can be passed off to you, and then you kind of take the next role. That's really awesome. And so maybe if you're listening today, audience, this is a service that you can use, even for implementing your book or your brand or whatever else. So, right, it's a great resource. So, Emanuel, I'm wondering now, you've got the book, and we have all this on the table so far, but what other advice might authors need to know about the AI world as we get deeper into it?
Yeah, I would say we have the proliferation of books and written content now, right? We've never seen it like this. Where the daily limit on Amazon, I think, is 10 books. So
I didn't realize there's a limit on it. That's hilarious.
And it's insane that it's 10, right? Like that would take such a giant organization to be able to create 10 books a day.
Yeah.
So I think you have to, for those of us who are established and have written books, that we really have to stay focused on who we're talking to and the messages that we're trying to give the humans. For new authors, it is important to find your voice and to get help to form and build a voice and a position and a brand, and work with an editor, work with a coach to put out good material that is meaningful to people, because we have an avalanche of bad material out there.
Ooh, yeah, and I know what you mean by that bad material. Do you have any strategies for weaving through that bad material? How do you know when something's useful or not?
Well, the first is that it is either curated from good content, and so that your sources are good. That's one way, is that you really dig into authors that other people have recommended or that are relevant to your topic, and then you've got to read the front and back cover and see if they're making any reference to an AI edition. So I know there's some novels that I've seen, one about fly fishing, which I love the fly fish, have my whole life, and read this book, and it was about one of the rivers I fish, and it was terrible. It was the worst book ever. I never got any better. And finally I had to stop reading it, and I looked to the back, and it's like, oh, it was generated by ChatGPT. So if you can find those references, then it's a good thing for you to avoid or read just a few pages before you decide how good it is or not.
Right. So I can see there that there's a couple of tips packed into what you just said. We do have to, look at the sources, look at where it's coming from. And I believe when you use engines these days, you can kind of press a button and it actually will walk you through its process. So before I gave you that answer, that's correct too, right? That's another source.
Yeah, where it's they'll oftentimes provide references, especially the tool Perplexity, that will reference where it's getting its answers from.
Right. So that's just another add-on to what you just said too. So no, just another amazing tip there. So yeah, one thing I also noticed is as you were creating this book, you actually got feedback from podcast guests that you interviewed. So that's a very interesting thing. A lot of authors go on to podcasts themselves to promote their book, but you used yours to interview guests to get feedback. Is that correct?
Yes, it's kind of a big mishmash now of sources and content and trying to stay current, and that's really the challenge that I'm facing and that I want to embrace, which is it's very dynamic, and I'm embracing the dynamism, and I want to get feedback and make sure that I'm translating this technological change in a way that people can feel comfortable with.
Right, yeah, and it's really cool to know that it's interactive in a way that it draws people to your show and also to your book because they want to know, okay, what's the next update with the book that I just, give my feedback on, right? So
Right.
just many different ways that you're creating your audience, be it through the interactive content to the podcast. These are some new and really cool ways to keep that audience. There's just adding to the funnel of great ways that we have out there. So really awesome stuff. So, I'm wondering if people do want to get in touch with you, stay up to date with the new content you mentioned, perhaps get some more tips. I know the podcast is one, way they can stay in touch and stay up to date. The Marketing in the Age of AI podcast. What other places can we get in touch? What would be the best way?
Let's see, you can Google Emanuel Rose, and I'll be the #1 result there, or you can go to emmanuelrose.com directly. And I've got lots of resources on there, AI prompt writing, AI tools, strategic planning tools, even some other high-level activities around podcasting. So lots of great content for you to take a look at and see if it's something that you want to dig deeper into.
I love that. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to put the links in the podcast description today, everybody. So you can go ahead and click on over, learn a little bit more. Of course, when we're all finished with this today. And Emanuel, I just have one last question for you. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
I think it's great that AI is a technology we can use. I think it's important to upskill. And then I think it's important to save some time from those AI tools to spend with your friends and your family, and to get outside and get back into the natural world as well. Okay,
so basically balance is what you're saying.
Absolutely.
Right. It's so easy to get sucked in and just rely on that. I mean, hey, I admit I've used chat to answer a text message every now and then. So it's funny, because we're like the living episode of South Park these days. But I get what you mean. Balance is always very important. So it's a great way to end today. So everyone, if you're listening, don't go on to the links yet. Go get a breath of fresh air and then come back and click on Emanuel's links and check out more of it. So everyone listening, if today's conversation has sparked something in you, whether it's curiosity, excitement, or a healthy dose of urgency about getting ahead of that AI curve, do check everything out. Stay in the know. It's an upcoming wave, and if you don't learn to jump over the wave, you're just going to be smashed by that wave. So stay up to date, and Emanuel's book is a great way of doing that. Emanuel, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your experience, for helping us understand AI. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it, Danielle. Thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. And to Authors on Mission, everybody listening today, remember the future does belong to those who don't just adapt to change, but those who see it coming and position themselves to lead it. So until next time, keep writing, keep growing, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. We'll see you next time on the Authors on Mission podcast. Have a great day.
This is Danielle Hutchinson reminding you that somewhere, someone needs the book that only you can write. Visit authorsonmission.com to start your legacy. Until next time, keep leading, keep inspiring, and keep thinking in chapters. Have a great day.